Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu mourns two Supreme Court justices. NLC urges Nigerians to disregard fake news, says they have no reasons to call off strike. Plus, at least 20 killed, 19 missing in China rainstorms. The details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news tonight, President Bola Tinubu has condoled with the judicial arm of government over the death of Justice Chima Santos Nweze and Justice Peter Homok Malong, two prominent members of the bench. Tinubu, in a statement issued by his special advisor on special duties, communications and strategy, Delia Leke, said the death of Supreme Court Justice Nweze and that of Justice Malong of the Federal High Court is painful. The Supreme Court Justice, who died at the age of 64, was appointed to the bench of the Apex Court in 2014 by former President Goodluck Jonathan. He also expressed his condolences to the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwoola, and Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Justice Hussaini Baba Yusuf, over the demise of their colleagues. In the meantime, the President has approved the appointment of Ajuri Ngelale as Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity. This was made known in a statement by the Director of Information Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Willie Bassi. According to the statement, the appointment takes effect from 31st July and would terminate at the end of the current administration unless otherwise decided by the President. The President urged him to bring his wealth of experience to bear on the new assignment. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has returned to the country from Cotonou, where he attended the 63rd independence anniversary of the Republic of Benin. President Tinubu, on his arrival, was received by some top government officials. He was accompanied by some of his political aides and 6 governors, including Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Seyi Makinde, Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, Nasser Idris, and Mohamed Bago, among others. Away from that, the federal government has ordered security agencies to beef up surveillance patrols around the second Niger Bridge and its surroundings to prevent further vandalism. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, Mahmouda Maman, disclosed this in Asaba Delta State while inspecting the bridge. Maman, while condemning the removal of some metal components from the bridge by vandals, stressed that the host communities must get involved, as the protection of national assets could not be left to the security agencies alone. Recall that the federal government had on July 12 raised the alarm that the 336 billion naira bridge was already been vandalized, barely 1 month after it was opened in May by former President Muhammadu Buhari. From the Red Chambers now, where the Senate today resumed screening of the ministerial nominees of President Bola Tinubu for the second day. Those who were screened today include ex-governors Nasser El-Rufai of Kaduna and Dave Umahi of Ebonyi, presidential spokesman Delia Leke, senior advocate of Nigeria Lateef Fagbemi, and 10 others. Others are Wale Dun, Musa Dangiwa, Uche Naji, Stella Okotete, Adebayo Adelabu, Muhammad Idris, Ali Pate, Doris Uzoka, Ikwerikwepo, Hanatu Musawa. And it would be recalled that the Senate had on Monday screened 14 of the 28-man ministerial nominees forwarded by President Bola Tinubu last Thursday. Those screened on Monday include former Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, Abubakar Kyari from Borno State, Nkiruka Onyejocha of Abia State, Bello Muhammad, Sokoto State, Sani Abubakar Danladi, Taraba State, and Badaru Abubakar, Jigawa State. Others are Joseph Utsev, Benue State, Olubunmi Tunji Ojo, Ondo State, Betaidu, Cross River State, Uju Kennedy Ohaneye, Anambra State, Abubakar Momo, Edo State, John Eno, Cross River State, Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, Nasarawa State, and Yusuf Maitama Tuga, Bauchi State. At Monday's plenary, Senate President Godswill Akpabio told ministerial nominees that taking a bow during their appearance before the Senate does not mean that they have been cleared or confirmed for any ministerial role. Meanwhile, the Senate today urged the Nigeria Customs Service and the National Security Advisor NSA to urgently lift the restriction on supply of premium motor spirits PMS within 20 kilometers radius of communities bordering other countries around the country. This followed the adoption of a motion of urgent national importance by Senator Solomon Adeola of APC Ogun West. He noted that the smuggling of the product to the border communities, which was later transferred to neighboring countries, contributed to the fuel subsidy crisis that the nation was grappling with for a very long time. He noted that the restriction placed on the supply of the product to the border communities as a result of smuggling of the product across the border to the neighboring countries is no longer justified, considering that fuel subsidy has been removed. From the Green Chambers now, where the House of Representatives has welcomed the planned upward review of the national minimum wage as announced by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu yesterday during a national broadcast. The lawmakers assured Nigerian workers that they would consider and approve the proposal when transmitted to the National Assembly by the presidency. In a statement, the chairman of the House Committee on Media and Publicity, Akin Rotimi, said the Green Chamber also welcomes the palliatives announced by President Bola Tinubu towards alleviating the adverse economic effects resulting from the removal of fuel subsidy. The House noted that interventions in the manufacturing sector through support for small and medium-scale enterprises as well as other integrated interventions would stimulate economic productivity, boost agriculture production, create jobs and improve living conditions. It will be recalled that President Tinubu during yesterday's nationwide broadcast said the federal government is working in collaboration with the labor unions to introduce a new national minimum wage for workers. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has pledged to effectively oversee the implementation of palliative programs to ensure maximum benefits to Nigerians. The spokesman for the House, Akin Rotimi, made the pledge in a statement today following the nationwide broadcast by President Bola Tinubu. According to the statement, the House commended Tinubu for announcing palliatives aimed at alleviating the adverse economic effects resulting from the removal of fuel subsidy. The statement empathized with Nigerians whom it stated had been distressed due to the gap between the removal of the subsidy and the implementation of palliative measures. It expressed optimism that the policies and initiatives announced by the President would be expedited to bring succor to the people. On judicial matters now, where the Presidential Tribunal sitting in Abuja today reserved judgment on the petition filed by the People's Democratic Party candidate Atiku Abubakar on the February 25 presidential election. Atiku is challenging the declaration of President Bola Tinubu as the winner of the election. Respondents in the suit are the Independent National Electoral Commission, Bola Tinubu, and the All Progressives Party. The tribunal, after adopting the party's final written addresses, reserved judgment to a date to be communicated to the parties. Reserved judgment on the petition by aim third in the election is challenging to a date to be communicated. The separate development, the Congress, while stating that view of minimum wage would commence in 2020, has been forced to negotiate with empty space in good faith with Labour. Tomorrow's with the Presidential Steering Committee over the removal of petrol subsidy. Rise doubts about President Bola Tinubu's ability to control inflation, plan for workers to proceed on a peaceful. In a related development, ahead of the planned nationwide pump price of petrol The Commissioner of Police in Bauchi State, Awal Musa, is to ensure a peaceful protest. Representatives of the state NLC chairman tried the need for synergy with the union leaders in the best interest of the people. The Commissioner of Police also reiterated his commitment to ensuring the safety and security. Violent purposes such as vandalism, gangsterism and extortion would be met with firm resistance. Away from that, in a robust operation aimed at curbing the enforcement of the unlawful sit-at-home order declared by the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB and its armed wing, the Eastern Security Network ESN, combined troops from the 82 Division Nigerian Army Sister Security Services, Nigeria Police and other security agencies have successfully raided and destroyed hideouts and training camps of the IPOB ESN in the Oshomogu Forest, which spans across Anambra and Imo State. According to reports, operation executed on Monday 31st July 2023 was prompted by alerts of the group's disruptive activities in several regions, including Onitsha, Nnewi and Iheme-Obosi in Anambra State, as well as the New Market in Enugu State. Director Army Public Relations Brigadier General Onyema Nwachukwu in camps belonging to the separatists group. A sad development, a chopper has crashed in the Oba Akran area in Ikeja, Lagos. A spokesman for the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau NSIB, Tunji Oketumbi, confirmed the development to newsmen today. Also, an official of the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASEMA, told newsmen that the incident occurred today in the afternoon. On its part, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, said 2 persons were on board the ill-fated chopper. The NEMA Zonal Coordinator of the Southwest, Ibrahim Farin Loye, on the agency's official WhatsApp platform said, though the identity of the operator of the helicopter was yet unknown, both men were rescued alive. First responders from NEMA, LASEMA and investigators from the NSIB arrived at the scene at the time it transpired. Away from that now, the Kano State government today removed 3 of its hospitals' medical directors and ordered the suspension of nurses and other hospital staff for leaving their jobs in the hands of medical students. The State Hospital Management Board, which approved the removal of the chief medical officers of Imam Wali General Hospital, Abubakar Imam Urology Center and Nuhu Bamali Maternity Hospital, has since replaced them with new medical directors. Executive Secretary of the board, Mansur Nagoda, reportedly angry with the unbecoming attitudes of the medical directors, also approved the suspension of all doctors and nurses that were on duty for the evening and night shifts on Sunday, July 30, 2023 for negligence. Elsewhere, the Ogun State House of Assembly has unveiled 8 commissioner nominees whose names were transmitted to it by the state governor, Dapo Abiodun, for confirmation as commissioners. In view of this, the Assembly has invited the nominees for screening tomorrow at 12 noon. Oluomo made the announcement at the plenary held at the Assembly Complex, Oke-Morsan, Abeokuta, directing that the nominees submit 30 copies each of their curriculum vitae and credentials to the office of the clerk and head of the Legislative Service latest 10 a.m. According to the Speaker, the nominees are Oladapo Okubadejo Adebowale Ade Adesanyo, Dr. Tommy Coker, Abayomi Aribabu, Oluwasina Olarewaju Ogunbade, Olaolu Olabintan, Jogunmolu Akonde, Omoniyi and Hamzat Ganiyu. Still to come in the news. German jobless rate unexpectedly falls to 5.6%. You stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Thanks for staying tuned as we move on now to Africa, where Sierra Leonean police have arrested several people, including unnamed senior military officers, for working to undermine the peace and tranquility of the state. In a statement, police said those arrested were planning violent protests between 7th and 10th August. Police accused unnamed individuals at home and abroad of plotting to undermine peace in the country. They said they were fully in control and urged Sierra Leoneans to remain peaceful and go about their normal businesses. Unease has gripped the West African country since the controversial re-election of President Julius Maada Bio on 24th June. On 5th July, Bio accused Western countries of creating confusion in the country after they expressed concern over the conduct of June's election. Meanwhile, the country has enjoyed relative peace since the end of an 11-year-long civil war in 2002. Meanwhile, the military generals in Burkina Faso and Mali have said any forcible attempt to restore President Mohamed Bazoum in neighboring Niger will be seen as a declaration of war on them. This follows a threat from a regional bloc that it would take all measures if the president was not reinstated. Bazoum is being held by Niger's coup leaders after being ousted last week. The region, threatened by an Islamist insurgency, has seen several coups in recent years. Both Burkina Faso and Mali have severed ties with the West, in particular with former colonial power France, and embraced new alliances with Russia. Their warning marks a significant twist that could escalate the volatile regional situation. In a related development, the French Foreign Ministry has said that it will soon start evacuating its nationals in Niger following a coup last week. It said that amid the deteriorating security situation, evacuations by air were being prepared and will take place very soon, in a very limited span of time. Recall that the Niger President Mohamed Bazoum was overthrown last week by troops from his presidential guard after they seized power. Reports say Niger is the third country in the Sahel after Burkina Faso and Mali to experience a coup in less than 3 years. Elsewhere, reports from Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso, say bursts of gunfire have been heard in the early hours of the morning from an air base in the center of the city. A security source said the situation was under control without giving more details. The incident comes 10 months after a coup, and the second in less than a year in the country, which has been battling an Islamist insurgency since 2015. It also comes nearly a week after the ousting of the elected government in neighboring Niger by military. In the meantime, 41 people who were rescued from a doomsday cult in Kenya earlier this year are to be charged alongside the leader with murder and other offenses. Prosecutors say the victims turned suspects were parents or grandparents of children who died or are missing, and allege that they were culpable for what happened to them. The cult's leader, Paul Mackenzie, is accused of encouraging his followers to starve themselves to death to enter heaven before the world ended. Police investigating the apparent mass suicide have so far exhumed over 400 bodies from the Shakahola forest in southeastern Kenya. Meanwhile, more than 600 people are still missing. Elsewhere, Senegal's Interior Ministry says 2 people have been killed in the city of Ziguinchor during protests against the detention of the main opposition leader Ousmane Sonko. Meanwhile, the ministry did not say who had died, but urged for calm and said measures were being taken to maintain stability in the country. Earlier, the government dissolved Sonko's party, accusing it of rallying its supporters towards an insurrection. It will be recalled that on Monday, Sonko appeared in court and was remanded in custody, charged with plotting an insurrection, criminal conspiracy and other offenses. He denies the charges, saying they are politically motivated. On the foreign scene, there's a report that China will place export controls on drone equipment in order to safeguard national security and interests. China's Commerce Ministry made this announcement, stating that the restrictions on equipment will require vendors to seek permission to export certain drone engines, lasers, imaging, communications and radar gear, and anti-drone systems. Consumer-grade drones with certain specifications are also subject to the controls, which come into effect September 1. The ministry further stated that all civilian drones not included in the controls are prohibited from being exported for military purposes. Still on the foreign scene now, China's President Xi Jinping has replaced 2 leaders of an elite unit managing its nuclear arsenal. The president named the former Deputy Navy Chief Wang Houbin and Party Central Committee member Zhu Zizheng as replacements. Reports say General Li Yuchao, who headed the People's Liberation Army's PLA Rocket Force unit, and his deputy had disappeared for months, leading to the replacement. Meanwhile, at least 20 people were killed and 19 were missing after heavy rains lashed Beijing and surrounding provinces in downpours that have submerged roads and deluged neighborhoods with mud. Storm Doksuri, a former super typhoon, swept northwards over China after hitting southern Fujian province on Friday, following its battering of the Philippines. According to reports, heavy rains began pummeling the capital and surrounding areas on Saturday, with nearly the average rainfall for the entire month of July dumped on Beijing in just 40 hours. In the meantime, workers today lowered a hammer and sickle from a gigantic sculptural figure that watches over the Ukrainian capital as part of a campaign to remove Soviet symbols, which has ramped up since Moscow invaded last year. The 62-meter-high steel figure of a woman holding a shield with the hammer and sickle and a sword was opened in 1981 as a memorial to Soviet victory in World War II. Standing on top of a war museum building, it is known in Ukrainian as Batchivzhina Mati, literally fatherland mother. Meanwhile, Ukraine's culture ministry has backed a plan to give the figure a new shield bearing the country's trident emblem. Reports say since last month, workers in a cradle suspended from a rail on top of the shield have been gradually cutting off grain and ribbon elements of the Soviet emblem and lowering them on ropes. Still on the foreign scene, Russian Defense Ministry says the country's military chief of staff, Valery Gerasimov, has visited the front lines in the Zaporizhia region. The ministry said Gerasimov inspected the command post of the troop grouping in the Zaporizhia direction. The Defense Ministry added that Gerasimov drew attention to the timely identification of their rival, the launching of preventive strikes against it, and the conduct of counter-battery warfare during the inspection. Elsewhere, the United Arab Emirates said today it would allow environmental activists to assemble peacefully at this year's UN climate talks, despite a prohibition on unauthorized protests in the Gulf state. The oil-rich UAE set to host COP28 from November through December in the business hub of Dubai requires official permission for protests, but effectively bans demonstration it deems disruptive. According to reports at the upcoming UN climate talks, there will be space available for climate activists to assemble peacefully and make their voices heard. The announcement was made in a joint statement with the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The statement was released after COP28 President Sultan Al-Jaber and UNFCCC Chief Simon Steele signed a bilateral agreement in Abu Dhabi that provides a legal basis in organizing and hosting the climate talks. Now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Davina Praise-Oman.
Thank you, Xavier Roberts. Good evening. It is a new business month. My name is Davina Praise-Oman. In the news, we begin with Germany's unemployment rate. Germany's unemployment rate edged down to 5.6% in July 2023, which was lower than both the previous month's reading and the market expectations of 5.7%. Unemployment levels declined by 4,000 to 2.604 million people, defying market forecast of 20,000 increase. However, the latest reports highlighted that excluding Ukrainian nationals, there would be an increase in the number of jobless individuals due to the weak economic environment. Year on year, the number of unemployed people was 147,000 higher. In July, there were 772,000 job openings, which is 108,000 fewer than a year ago. Labour Office head Andrea Niles said companies' demand for labour remained restrained. In Nigeria, Nigeria's external reserves lost $167.2 million in July as the naira fell further to the dollar. According to data from the Central Bank of Nigeria, the movement of external reserves show that the reserves, which ended June 30, 2023 at $34.12 billion, fell to $33.95 billion as of July 28, 2023. In the past 2 weeks, the naira fell from $820 to $890 at the parallel market today. Nigeria's Private Sector Performance Index. The Stanbic IBTC Bank Nigeria's Purchasers Managers Index PMI dropped to 51.7 in July 2023 from 53.2 in the previous month, indicating a modest improvement in business conditions in the Nigerian private sector that was the weakest since March. Both output and new orders growth eased to the weakest levels since their respective returns to expansion after the cash crisis at the beginning of the year, as inflationary pressures pushed down demand. Input prices rose at the joint fastest pace since the series began in January 2014, driven by higher fuel costs following the subsidy removal, currency weakness, and rising wages. As a result, firms increased output prices accordingly, at one of the strongest rates recorded. On a brighter note, employment increased for the third consecutive month and recorded the fastest growth since the start of the year. However, business confidence weakened to an over 9.5-year low. Nigerian stock market report. At the end of the first trading day of the month, the benchmark all-share index paired 145.32 basis points, minus 0.23%, to close at 64,192. Compared with yesterday's market performance, today's data shows 13% improvement in volume, 19% improvement in turnover, but 19% decline in deals. The current market capitalization dropped to 34.9 trillion naira from yesterday of 35 trillion naira. In the aggregate, 118 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 22 gainers and 37 losers. Dangote Sugar Refinery led the gainers with 10% in share price appreciation, closing at 29 naira 70 kobo per share. On the losing side, John Holt came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 10% at 1 naira 80 kobo per share. ICO Insurance recorded the highest volume of 315 million traded shares. This is all on business news. Back to Xavier Roberts for the rest of the news.
Many thanks, Davina. Still to come in the news. Nishikori withdraws from Washington Open. Do stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Many thanks for staying tuned. Now, on our health story, the Nasarawa state government has said no fewer than 23,224 residents of the state have tested positive for the viral hepatitis B and C infection. The Permanent Secretary of the State Ministry of Health, Dr. Janet Ambazo, disclosed this during a press briefing held in commemoration of the 2023 World Hepatitis Day, tagged "We are not waiting, one life in one liver" in Lafayette. She explained that a total of 229,682 individuals were screened, out of which 23,224 residents tested positive for the disease, adding that some of the infected persons are presently being treated in government hospitals across the 13 local government areas of the state. The permanent secretary further appealed to the public to make themselves available for HBV and HCV testing in government hospitals across the 13 local government areas of the state, and to avoid the use of unsterilized sharp objects, sharing of needles or syringes, and the transfusion of unscreened blood and blood products. Still in health agencies in Boji, Gombe and Jigawa have announced plans to distribute over 2 million doses of drugs to stem the spread of neglected tropical diseases and TDs. The states also scaled up sensitization activities and trained health personnel to enhance surveillance, detection and treatment of the disease. The health official stated this in separate interviews while responding to a survey on NTDs by newsmen in Boji, Datse and Gombe. Reports say NTDs are a diverse group of tropical infections that are common in low-income populations in developing regions of Africa, Asia and the Americas. Let's head over now to Isaac for latest sports stories.
Well, thank you very much, Xavier. In sports, Kei Nishikori was withdrawn from the Mubadala City DC Open on Tuesday due to a left injury. The Japanese star was replaced in a draw by Sho Shimabukuro, who would face South African Lloyd Harris. The 33-year-old returned from a 20-month absence in June when he won an ATP Challenger Tour title in Puerto Rico. He won 8 of his 10 Challenger level matches before returning to the ATP Tour last week in Atlanta. The former world number 4 showed his good form at the Atlanta Open, an ATP 250 event where he made the quarterfinals with straight set victories over Jordan Thompson and Shang Jung-cheng. Nishikori owns an 18-7 record in Washington, where he won the title in 2015 and has reached 2 additional semifinals. His most recent appearance in Washington came in 2021. While in volleyball, Nigeria women's beach volleyball team have emerged champions of Zone 3 at the just concluded Paris 2024 Olympic qualifiers in Cotonou, Benin Republic. Nigeria defeated Ghana 2-0, 21-15 and 21-18 in an epic women's final played on Sunday. The pair of Estamba and Naomi Yaro have qualified for the main round of the Paris Olympic qualification series to be determined by the Confederation of African Volleyball (CAVB). The coach of the Nigerian beach volleyball team, Kayode Ojilore, lauded the spirited performance of the team in the tournament and for maintaining its dominant posture. He said the girls have shown they are destined for greatness, adding that the country would scale through the final stage. Meanwhile, Nigerian men's team lost to the Republic 2-1, 21-19, 18-21, 15-12 in the third place match at the just concluded Paris 2024 Olympic qualifiers. Well, in football, barely 4 days to the start of the new English Championship season, West Brom have announced the signing of Nigerian striker George Maya. Maya started his career in England with Sunderland before joining French League side Bordeaux. The hard-working forward also returned to the Championship last season with Birmingham before discussion collapsed and he returned to Bordeaux. Maya had a splendid outing with Bordeaux last season, scoring 16 goals before he departed at the end of the season. West Brom announced his signing on Tuesday, today, through the club's official website. Finally, from the Premier League scene, Premier League and North London-based club Tottenham Hotspur are reportedly keen on signing 20-year-old Nigerian star Gift Orban in the ongoing transfer window. Orban had an impressive campaign with Ghent last season, scoring 20 goals in 22 appearances across all competitions. A report from the Daily Mail has claimed that Tottenham have now joined the race to sign the 20-year-old striker. It is no surprise that Tottenham are looking to bring an attacking reinforcement, especially with the future Hurricane
Isaac. And on entertainment news, veteran actress Stella Damasus has revealed she is still in close rapport with her personality Teju Babyface. The actress clarified, contrary to the belief of many, she is friendly with Doris. According to her, Doris's son, David Wom, whom she had with her ex-husband Daniel Deminocan made them bond so well, as he was the common factor. Reports say after divorcing Doris, he married Stella and took Doris's only child with them to the US, where they resided. After a long battle, she regained custody of her son in 2019. For the little boy, both women sought the best and found their common interests on that ground. And lastly, on entertainment tonight, Grammy Award winner, Nigerian singer and songwriter Ayodeji Balogun, popularly known as Wizkid, has received the Brit Billion Award, which is a prize given to artists who have surpassed 1 billion streams in the United Kingdom. Reports say the award was presented to the Grammy winner after his landmark show at the Tottenham Stadium on July 29 this year, thus making Wizkid the first African artist to receive the prestigious award. Recall that since making his debut in 2011, Wizkid has enjoyed a steady ascension in the international scene. In 2016, he became the first Nigerian artist to reach the top of the Billboard Hot 100 through One Dance, his mega collaboration with Drake. Meanwhile, Wizkid's Brit Billion Award tells the story of his enduring commerciality in the United Kingdom and his invaluable impact on the Afrobeat scene. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. Do have a good night rest. Bye-bye.